Hello, it's June the 28th, 2020. My name is John Huggins. I'm the Vicar of the Len Valley Benefice, and today's service is all about welcome. And I want to start by welcoming you, whoever you are, whether or not you're a regular member of our church in the past. And I hope that you feel fully part of all that we do this morning, and you discover God meeting you at home, or wherever you are as you watch this video. So what are we going to do today? We're going to read actually a very short passage in the Bible. I'm going to share a thought about that passage. Then we're going to have an interview with somebody called Charlotte, who we're going to be welcoming into the Len Valley next week. So I'll say a bit more about Charlotte later on. Then we'll have some music, and we can sing to that music if we want to. There's a video to pray together, and then there's a last piece of music to send us on our way. The one thing I do want to remind everybody of is that I will be, as has become my habit, doing Facebook morning prayer on a Thursday morning at 8:30. So do join me if on the Len Valley Benefice Facebook page, if you would like to. I also need to mention something about the opening of churches. First of all, our churches are now in various states of opening for private prayer. So Lenham and Ulcombe are open. Harwich will be open very soon, and Bourton Malab has decided to open its porch as a place of private prayer. Mainly, the churches are open on a Wednesday and a Sunday if you want to use them. And I'll say something about opening for services a little bit later. So let's have a moment to pause and to come before God. And then I'm going to start by reading from the Bible, a very short reading from the Gospel, that means the Good News, written by Matthew. It's chapter 10, and it's verses 40 to 42. Anyone who welcomes you welcomes me, and anyone who welcomes me welcomes the one who sent me. Whoever welcomes a prophet as a prophet will receive a prophet's reward, and whoever welcomes a righteous person as a righteous person will receive a righteous person's reward. And if anyone gives even a cup of cold water to one of these little ones who is my disciple, truly I tell you, that person will certainly not lose their reward. Father, by the power of the Spirit, may my words draw from your written word and be to us your living word, Jesus Christ, your Son. So, quite clearly, our passage today is all about welcome. Lorraine and I were welcomed into this group of churches and villages nearly 3 years ago now. And somebody asked me just on Monday, actually, do you like it here? And my answer is always the same when I'm asked that question. And that is that we've been made to feel so welcome that it would be impossible not to. Of course, whether or not you like me here, that's a very different question, but we won't go there. But I'd like to say a really big thank you from Lorraine and myself to everybody, both inside and outside the churches, who have welcomed us so well. It's a little bit like that passage. So many people have made us feel so welcome in the Len Valley. Have you ever thought about that word, welcome? If you break it into its two bits, welcome. It's almost as though the word is saying that you're making somebody feel well as they come towards you or as they come into your home. What a wonderful thought. It's a bit like walking down the road and giving somebody a great big smile. I think that word welcome, expresses so much of our hopes at this time as the coronavirus pandemic recedes for many of us in this area at least a little bit. Certainly for me, I happen to be clinically vulnerable, so for 12 weeks I hardly saw anybody at all, apart from, I should add very rapidly before I'm told off, apart from my dear wife. But largely we were isolated. And that word welcome, it just means so much to me. I saw Alex, my daughter, and her husband David last Saturday, and we met up in a park area, and we gave them a virtual hug, and it was such a joy to be able to see them again. And maybe that word welcome sums up how we might feel at the moment about families, family members and friends that we want to see, maybe about church members we want to see, maybe about people in our community and our work friends who we really long to see. So today, I want to ask a what if question. What if? What if God himself longs to see us as individuals and groups just as much as we long to see those friends and family members? What if? What if there's a God out there somewhere who has his arms outstretched that's longing for us to say that we've now got the point? Have we got the point through this virus? The point is that we need to drop our absurd busyness in life that tends to make us human doers rather than human beings. As though the point of life were to travel at breakneck speed without ever pausing to stop and enjoy it. How many of us in this time have spent a lot more time able to walk in the countryside and actually to appreciate the beauty and the wonder of nature? Have we got the point? The point that we need to put aside our greed that drives that ridiculous, that ludicrous consumerism, as though we're human buyers rather than human beings. Have we got the point? The point that we need to stop poisoning the planet with carbon gases that come from our addiction to fossil fuels, oil and petrol and plastics? Do we need or even want food that's flown into us so that we can eat strawberries on Christmas Day? Well, we're starting to feel a little bit freer from lockdown now. I know it's not over, but it feels like we're on the way back to normal. Now, at this point, I'm going to slightly diverge and say that our government has told us that our churches can open for services from the 4th of July, and I have to say, this won't happen overnight. I'm afraid we've had no warning of this coming, and we do need to make these places safe before we can run services. We just don't have big teams of working age people who can make this happen. So we will start running face-to-face services again, but I really doubt whether it will be by the 4th of July. And even then, they will have to be a bit different to before for a while. However, as I was saying, it is starting to feel a little bit freer from lockdown. But I, like so many others, want this to be a new normal. I don't want us to have gone through all of this just to go back to the old normal. And I want that new normal to include a new moral dimension to life, so that we make life not just about work, buying, and not enough sleep, but living a life that's about doing good things, not just for others, but actually for ourselves as well. And because of my Christian faith, I believe that as we embrace what I'm calling that new moral normal, we will effectively start to embrace God and find God's warm embrace for us. There's a tale that Jesus told that you may have heard of about a lad taking his half of the family inheritance. Or you could imagine a lass, if that's more helpful to you. So off he heads, and with all that money that he's effectively swindled his dad out of, he goes off and lives life without a care in the world. Totally self-centered, totally individualistic, totally me. Well, I don't know about you, but bits of my life have been lived pretty much like that. Then one day, when his luck has run out, he realises what a berk he's been, and he comes back to his dad, expecting to be told off, ready to be asked to be employed on the family farm. But he's got it all wrong. His dad has spent every day looking out across the fields, hoping against hope that his son will come back. And as I say, think daughter, not son, if that's better for you. Then when he comes into sight, and you can imagine his dad looking out across the fields, his dad races across those fields and hugs him and gets a feast and a party ready for him. That story describes the God that I love and know. And that story is a story for us in these days, I think, because when we describe a new normal, we're coming back to our senses, away from that crazy selfishness which seems to be an infection that gets to all of us. And here's what I'd like to see in a new normal in our local communities and in our country. I'd like to see that all of us become deeply entwined into our communities so that our communities become thriving places to live. I'd like to see that we have elections. When we have elections in this country, we stop just voting for our personal economic advantage and start telling our politicians that we care about our society, not just ourselves. I'd like that as individuals and as a society, we reorder ourselves and start caring for the poor. And I'm using the word the poor in the broadest sense of the word, the disadvantaged, if you like. And also that we value those who care for them. So, for example, valuing our NHS means continuing to support it with real action, not just clapping for key workers when the chips were down, although that was a good thing to do as well. And lastly, that we start caring for our planet with real action and stop pretending that we can keep destroying it so that being uninhabitable for our kids and grandkids somehow doesn't really matter. So I've got a really simple message for all of us today. If you, like me, want to be part of something that looks like that, then join us. It might be, to start with, this means an ongoing video communication. Although quite quickly now we'll start to be able to use our buildings again. But actually that's not the most important bit. The most important bit is this. Come as you are, with a desire for a new normal, and receive the embrace of God. For He too is reaching out to us to make this a better world. And if that's you who longs for this new normal, and you're new to the Len Valley Benefice Churches, and you want to get in touch, please do so. My contact details, I'm John Huggins, are on the Len Valley Benefice website, or use social media to contact me, whichever way you like. We all need each other, more in fact than we're often happy to admit. And that's one thing that the church is for, to support and encourage us to help to make this place, this world, a better place. Amen. So that's the end of this video. Now, there are another couple of videos coming up. So the next video is, as I say, we're going to welcome soon Charlotte Coles into the Len Valley Benefice, and she's going to be a curate with us for 2 or 3 years. And if you don't know what a curate is, it's basically a kind of apprentice vicar. So on the next video, she's going to tell us a little bit about herself. Then after that, there are another couple of videos, and we have a couple of songs. Now, quite often we use local musicians for this, but we're taking a break this week from that. And we have 2 different songs. One is a traditional hymn, Dear Lord and Father, Forgive Our Foolish Ways. And the other is much more contemporary. It's called The Father's Love. So join us in both of those or either of those, and either sing along or listen, but the important thing is to worship in your heart. And lastly, we have a last video with prayers and blessing. I say it's a last video, but actually, in addition to that, there's a last piece of music, which I'll introduce at that point. So, may God be with you. Amen.